3 very scary true stalker. Horror stories. Story 1, The Watcher in the Woods. In 2015, a woman named Emily moved into a small rental house on the edge of a forest in Oregon. She was excited for the peace and quiet, having recently gone through a rough breakup. The house was cozy, but something felt off. One evening, while unpacking, Emily noticed something strange. A single rose was left on her doorstep with no note. She assumed it was from a neighbor, though she hadn't met any yet. The next night, she saw movement outside her window. A dark figure stood just beyond the tree line, watching. She closed the blinds and tried to ignore it. Over the next week, things escalated. She would hear soft tapping on her windows at night. One evening, she found another rose, this time inside her locked car. Panic set in. Someone had gotten inside. Emily reported it to the police, but they found no real evidence. They advised her to be cautious. Then, one night, she woke up to the sound of her back door creaking open. Frozen in fear, she listened as slow, deliberate footsteps moved through her house. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911 while hiding under her bed. The intruder never entered her room, but she heard them breathing just outside her door. The police arrived within minutes, but by the time they searched the house, the person was gone. The only thing they found was a note on her kitchen table. It read, "You should lock your doors better. See you soon." Emily moved out the next day. The stalker was never caught. Story 2, The Man in the Attic. In 2018, a college student named Rachel moved into an apartment near campus. It was an old building, but cheap rent made it appealing. For the first few months, everything was fine, until she started noticing small things out of place. Her food would disappear, doors she swore she locked would be slightly open, and random items would be moved. At first, she thought she was just forgetful. But then one night, she came home late from class and saw something that made her blood run cold. As she entered her bedroom, she noticed the ceiling panel leading to the attic was slightly ajar. She had never even touched it before. A creeping dread filled her. Trying to shake it off, she pushed a chair under the panel and climbed up to peek inside. What she saw made her stomach drop. A sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, a small dirty notebook filled with pages upon pages of her name, scribbled over and over. She stumbled backward, barely holding in a scream. Someone had been living in her attic, watching her, sneaking around when she wasn't home. Rachel ran out of the apartment and called the police. They searched the attic but found no one. Whoever had been living there had left. The police suspected it was a homeless man who had snuck in months ago, but Rachel had a gut feeling it was something more sinister. She moved out immediately, unable to shake the feeling that he was still watching her from somewhere. Story 3, The Smiling Man. In 2012, a woman named Lisa worked late shifts at a diner in a small town. She often walked home alone, as it was only a few blocks away. One night, after finishing her shift around 2 a.m., she noticed a man standing under a streetlight near the diner. He was tall, dressed in old, ragged clothes, and had a disturbingly wide smile stretched across his face. As she walked past him, his head turned to follow her. She quickened her pace, but something in her gut told her not to run. Halfway home, she glanced back, and her stomach dropped. He was following her, still smiling, still staring. Lisa hurried to her front door, fumbling with her keys. As she shut and locked it behind her, she peered through the peephole. The man was now standing right in front of her door, smiling even wider, almost as if he were enjoying her fear. Then he knocked. Soft, deliberate taps. Lisa backed away, heart pounding. The knocking continued for several minutes before stopping abruptly. She waited, barely breathing, then forced herself to look through the peephole again. He was gone. But the next night, he returned, standing under the same streetlight, smiling, watching. This continued for weeks. The police were called multiple times, but he always disappeared before they arrived. Eventually, Lisa had no choice but to move to another city. To this day, she still has nightmares of the smiling man. And sometimes, she wonders if he ever found someone new to follow,